The second time in 2021, the drivers of the NORC iRacing League are ready to hit the road for 25 laps around the majestic 4+ mile layout that is Road America. Last week at Martinsville, we saw reigning champion Zoltan Herczeg survive 4 green-white checkered attempts to grab his 3rd win of the season and move into a tie for 4th with Freddie De La Rosa on the all-time NORC win list. Now Herczeg will look to continue to try to close the gap on points leader Daniel Falkingham, who comes into the night the favorite, especially after dominating at Road Atlanta earlier in the season. Will Falkingham continue his reign atop the championship standings and go back-to-back on the road courses? Or will another driver crack the code to this staple of American motorsports and stand tall as the winner in virtual Elkhart Wake, Wisconsin tonight? This is round 16 of the 2021 NORC iRacing League Season 13, and it's coming at you live on Pit Stop TV. Good evening, everybody, and welcome, as we mentioned, to the virtual Road America. I'm Eric Brennan. Pleasure to be with you, as always. Emerson Arden pulling double duty yet again on our NORC broadcast. We'll hear from him momentarily, and, of course, he's handling our production duties as well. And let's also tip our cap to our buddy Trey Shuttlesworth, who's holding it down on social media, and he has hyped this one up for good reason. 25 laps are on a racetrack that is unique in its own right, a favorite of many, including one of yours, Emerson Arden. Welcome to the broadcast booth. Welcome to the virtual Road America, and welcome to what's probably going to be another thriller here on a road course with these NORC drivers.
Absolutely. First and foremost, these NORC drivers on road courses absolutely know how to get it done. The show we had at Road Atlanta earlier this season, it'll be easy to get them confused. They're Road A's. But Road Atlanta, that was a phenomenal show. Daniel Falkingham swept the field at that, but there was the halfway caution. It got very interesting. Falkingham got damage into that caution. We didn't know if he was still gonna have the pace to do it, but he did, and I mean, it was just at the right time as well. It was such an emotional win, and it was a great one for Daniel Falkingham. But tonight we're here, Road America, bit bigger. I love this track. Long straightaways, heavy braking zones. You have 3 distinct braking zones to try to make an overtake in. 3 different portions of the track as well. So if you don't get it done in one, you can regroup, find your way through turn 3, and you're in turn 5 with a braking zone. Then, you know, if you don't get it through 5, you have a whole section to reset yourself up for Canada Corner. I love this track. The flow, I think, is phenomenal, and a lot of people just have it circled on, you know, their American motorsport calendars anytime a series goes there.
You hit the nail on the head, and this track offers up a lot of opportunity to pass. It also offers up a lot of opportunity to make mistakes. We mentioned it was just over 4 miles in length, and you can see the areas that Emerson just highlighted as far as potential passing zones. Turn 1 narrows up pretty quickly, but you can make a move there. As Emerson mentioned, by the time you get to turn number 3, the biggest running joke in racing is the fact that turn 2 is labeled the corner on this racetrack. That was something everybody was talking about leading up to the IndyCar and NASCAR event there. Turn 5, though, it looks like an incredible passing opportunity, but boy, you could have some major mistakes there, and if you don't get the job done there, you could get a chance to make a move back at turn 6 before coming to the right-hander at turn 7. The carousel is one of the most challenging corners on the racetrack where you can make up and lose a lot of time. You're tempted to get back in the gas a little bit sooner than maybe you should, and the car has a tendency to wash up wide, and if you botch the exit at turn 10, you've lost all your speed heading into the kink, which, as we've seen over the years, this came up in the IndyCar race about a month and a half ago. With the track aging, you used to be able to tempt yourself to run through there wide open. Now you really have to crack the throttle, especially in these heavy stock cars like the Xfinity models we're running tonight, in order to survive that sector of the racetrack where a high speed off would result in a high speed disaster. Through tail bottoms off to that passing zone that Emerson alluded to at Canada Corner turn 12, and then you wind your way down to turn 14 before what the one thing the track map is unable to highlight, that steep climb up the front straightaway, that rise in elevation that leads you up to the promised land, the start-finish line, and that's a lap around this 4-mile layout at Road America, which Emerson, and we were kind of joking around a little bit in our lead in here. You know this track like the palm of your hand. You highlighted some of the passing zones, but I look at places like the carousel, the kink, maybe some of the places where you're not going to try to get around a driver, but you could botch a lap here pretty easily at those sectors of the racetrack and more.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go wide through turn 5, now going wide through turn 5, that's the preferred way to enter the corner and try to get the better arc. But a little too wide, and that screws up your whole lap. 6, you can wheel hop. 7, there's grass on either side. Turn 8, there's a gravel trap waiting for you at the end of the corner. The kink, like you said, very tricky, especially in these heavy stock cars. Very fast corner. Canada corner, it's such an odd braking zone. You have no braking marker for these stock cars into Canada corner. You're braking really even before that last little curve back into the corner. You're braking before there, maybe lifting the throttle to set the car, and then back to heavy braking before you even get to the first braking point there. Very, very tricky corners, which I think means the drivers who can get it done tonight with minimal off tracks definitely have another start to their name with that, because it is such a tricky challenge that these drivers have to go through tonight. And I mean, we can look at it with the standings and which drivers may need to really keep it on the track. We'll take a look at the first 10 here, and then Falking with his 4 wins on the season has only an 11-point lead over Zoltan Herczeg after that dominating performance last week at Martinsville. Chad Oxendine right there with 70 points back, but he only has 9 over David Schutt. Watch for that to get spicy tonight. John Barry, 106 back of our point leader, holding steady in 5th. But for how much longer? Will Klein there, 1 point behind. Brett Pancari, he is 9 points behind John Barry. And Jared Darling there, he is 16 points behind John Barry. This can get really tight really fast, 5th through 8th. And then you have Zach Lindgren, 130 back of our point leader. He's 24 behind John Barry. And Aaron Smith is 150 back of point leader Daniel Falkin. But Eric, those points got really tight on the bubble. Martinsville shook him up a little bit, but we go to another wild card, if you will, especially for this midfield. Anybody could finish anywhere. What are you seeing here on the second half?
We're 3 races away from the playoffs kicking off, and we'll look at that schedule in just a moment. But as you mentioned, the fight for the bubble spot is getting intense. With this being a road course event, we could expect to see some different names up in the top 10 when the checkered flag flies after the 25 laps around here. But you look at right now, the guys hanging on for dear life like Spencer Owen, Sheldon Lockie. How about some of the names that are outside of the top 12? And remember, it doesn't matter if you visit victory lane or not. They're taking the top 12 in points, and they'll re-rack the field there for the playoff run. Sean Williams, Howie Briss, Tommy Gossett, a name that we've seen up towards the front, just needs a little bit of luck to go his way. Gossett is a driver who has shown flashes of brilliance. Remember, he was our pole sitter twice this season, albeit at Homestead in Iowa, a completely different animal than what we're going to see here tonight. Scott Shire, Hayes Booth coming on strong. Daytona winner Cody Miller is out of the championship chase as of right now, but they are all covered by less than 40 markers right now, all the way back to Miller. As a matter of fact, you want to throw Ariotti into that mix as well. Just 41 points take you down all the way to TCB. With 3 races to go, and with the car counts we've been seeing, these guys can make it up if they can catch a little bit of momentum here in these final 3 races before the reset. And that's what these guys who are 13th through 20th are going to have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we talked about the schedule, of course, and the slate of races we had coming through here. And you go through the first half of the schedule, the Daytonas, then you go to Kansas, Michigan, Wilkesboro, Kentucky, Road Atlanta. At this point, Falkingham was already on a hot streak. But after this, it kind of dissipated, and we haven't seen Falkingham really be showing that speed tonight. But a road course like he dominated at Road Atlanta could be just what he needs. We look at then at Dover, Homestead, iRacing Super Speedway in Iowa. I mean, who knew what we were going to get there? I think we all got very wild and very different winners, if you will. It was very nice to see all that. I mean, Nashville and Auto Club, and then we had our little break before the Dega Duels. And the Dega Duels had Femi Ola go back-to-back. Femi Ola not running full-time, of course. But, I mean, it just, the insane schedule we've had so far. And then Zoltan dominated Martinsville, Eric. I mean, this run here, I mean, we haven't had anything really be the same yet. What about the rest of the schedule?
A lot of our viewers who follow the NORC series religiously like we do would know that, Falkingham, despite not having the success as of late, you mentioned the trouble he had in the Talladega Duels, but after the strong finish last week in Martinsville, albeit not the win that he was looking for, he was very confident coming into here at Road America. He's also shown prowess on some of the intermediates, so Atlanta's going to follow this race tonight 1 week from tonight, and then we're on a Super Speedway, a track in which, Super Speedway racing, there's love-hate relationships there between some of these drivers in those events on the calendar. Legacy Daytona to set the playoff grid for our top 12 drivers in points before we kick things off at Indy. Another intermediate there on the slate, this time the first in the playoff batch at Texas. Then we're on to the Bristol Dirt. That's a wild card event in its own right there before we go to the very tough track at Darlington, Phoenix, Chicagoland, Vegas to round out the final 3 races of the season to see who will take home the season 13 championship. And once we hit that reset point, when we re-rack the top 12, I think it's going to feel like a fresh, clean slate for everybody. The question will be, can Falkingham continue to exert the level of dominance that he pretty much has been able to display since his win in the second stop of the season at the Kansas Speedway Oval? With that, though, we turn our attention to what the agenda is here tonight. As we mentioned, 25 lap scheduled distance. We can expect to see 2 pit stops. And credit to Emerson Arden for doing a little bit of homework here to try to see how the fuel fill is going to work out and how many stops we may, in fact, see here. And one of the most unique facets of tonight's coverage here from Road America, standing start. Emerson, I'll tell you what, I love the idea to kind of throw a little bit of a wrinkle into the mix here. The front straightaway at Road America is relatively narrow, but if you put everyone on that even keel to have to deal with something that's a little bit new here, I think that's going to be one of the most exciting moments of tonight's race.
Absolutely. You're taking a big, heavy stock car that, I mean, even like NASCAR, the sporting body itself, decides that the best way to start these bad boys up for a race is by rolling them to the green, going from a standstill up to race pace, and you're going to be right with your competitors. Everybody's going to be, lined up equidistant to one another. It's going to be something down into turn 1. A lot of these drivers are not expecting to get through turn 1 in one piece from what they've been telling me in the practice sessions this week. We'll see, though, when we get to it. First, who's starting up front, and if you're really safe in the turn 1. Again, qualifying can mean one thing, but when you're doing something that you don't normally do, like grid start a stock car with 650 horsepower to the rear wheels, I mean, who knows, you're going to be in P1 by the time you get off the line.
Yeah, it's an interesting element that we're going to keep an eye on here as far as how the race unfolds, and it could kind of put some guys in a unique position as they kick off that first lap of competition. And while we watch the point leader work his mastery and navigate his way around this racetrack, we got some exciting news here on the platform here at Pit Stop TV. We all know that Andrew Cardinale IV, former NORC competitor, as a matter of fact, he was surprised to go back and comb through the stats and acknowledge the fact that he's raced here on more than one occasion with NORC before. One of the reasons why he hasn't been able to take part in these broadcasts is his involvement with a couple of the partners, which I've had the chance to work with as well. In fact, he's working down at the Summer Shootout right now at the Legend Cars and Bandoleros that you can see on NBC Track Pass. He also works with Pit Road TV. He also works with Cars Tour TV. And a press release that came out from Pit Stop TV just this past week is the fact that the Cars Esports Tour is back. Entries opened up to all Cars Tour competitors as well as other select short track stars and iRacers. Cars Esports Tour races will be held on Wednesday night, so the day after we're with you here for NORC coverage, with practice opening up at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. To learn more, go to pitstoptv.com/Cars Esports Tour to learn more about how perhaps maybe you could be a part of the coverage, or you can check the schedule. There's an interesting slate of tracks that are going to be a part of it, and that relationship with the Cars Tour, with Cars Tour TV and Pit Stop TV continues to strengthen. And I know Andrew Cardinale IV and all of us here on the platform are extremely excited about it here, and we'll be looking forward to that upcoming on Wednesday nights. As for this qualifying session, you can see Daniel Falkingham picking up right where he left off from Road Atlanta. How about that lap time there? Nearly 3.5 tenths, as Jared Darling has a moment there coming off the corner. 3.5 tenths clear of the field over Aaron Smith II, who we knew would be a potential favorite here tonight, as we ride on board now with Hayes Booth, who was looking sporty in practice. But you can see, Emerson, that margin between some of the heavy hitters and some of the drivers who are trying to improve on their lap time, it's pretty big at this point in the session here. Some of these guys still trying to figure this place out.
Absolutely, and it really depends. And I'm going to tell you this, and if you don't already know, if you try to qualify on these road courses and these stock cars, the outlap is everything. You don't want to use any tire on that outlap. You literally can save maybe half a second to maybe even a second, depending on how much tire you save on just your outlap alone for your timed lap. It truly is something. I noticed this when I did at Circuit of the Americas earlier in May, back in the iRacing season. The outlap really can dictate your pace, and there goes Hayes Booth off the track. That's going to be an invalid lap time, and Hayes Booth will reset to the pit lane. His qualifying session is effectively over. There's a TCB on your screen. And it comes out, I saw Zoltan Herczeg. He was tiptoeing around on his outlap, trying to save every bit of life in his tires. And we'll see here if the speed translates to the timed lap. Granted, I don't really know where he thinks he can put this 96 car, but we'll have to see. He's going to go wide, and that'll be an invalid lap.
One very interesting point that you bring up there, Emerson, and we saw that. Remember, Road America for the NASCAR races here was one of the few tracks where they had qualifying, and that was something that we saw. We saw drivers actually coming out and kind of, putt-putting their way around to turn 14 up the hill to the green flag because they really didn't want to have to overcook their tires, as we see Ariati make a big mistake there in turn 5. So this is just a prime example as to how tough this layout in this track could be. The struggle for Ariati, and you just saw it there, he didn't have enough time to reset, come back around, and take the green flag to kick off a lap. But Zoltan Herczeg, even with that invalid, we believe will be an invalid lap, is going to try to get back to the start-finish line here before this session runs out. Only 13 cars have taken time thus far. Understand we got about 20 to 21 who have signed in. And here's James Simmons, who is trying to put something together here. Love the car. Reminds me of the ride in which, as he locks up the right front, that Scott Pruitt used to run back in the Ganassi days in the mid-2000s, trying to maybe parlay the success of that road racing ace to his NORC career at Road America. But the time to beat continues to be set by that of your points leader, Daniel Falkingham. And the handicapping committee, when trying to set up the odds for this one tonight, they had Falkingham as a heavy favorite, but navigating 25 laps here with a 60% fuel fill, that's a tall order. We'll see if he can come up to that task here as we watch Tom Mercier overcook the kink.
Yeah, I don't think Zoltan's going to have enough time to come around. This may be practice as Mercier goes off there. That's an invalid lap as well. At this point, these drivers, they're just out here practicing, getting as much practice as they can. Maybe you should come around, practice your grid start here if you haven't done that already with a minute left in the session. We will see. By the way, back to James Simmons. You mentioned Scott Pruitt, and absolutely Scott Pruitt, one of the notable drivers in the Juicy Fruit car. Another one I can think of is Juan Pablo Montoya, who won 2 stock car races on the road courses. So a couple of different drivers that I think of note. Makes it a perfect livery when you come to a road course like Road America.
And I love the fact when these guys flash back to some of the most iconic colors of our childhood, or one of the reasons why we fell in love with the sport, and Simmons is doing just that here tonight. Simmons, though, one of those drivers who has yet to lay down a solid lap time. You know, some of the others, how about TCB, Josh Robin, Patrick Colby, Nick Caressel, who right now may not even be in the session, Daytona winner Cody Miller, and a few more who are not sure if they've elected to not take part or if they just haven't been able to string together a solid timed lap. And with the opportunity running out here, we're about 14 seconds away, plus whoever could get back to the start-finish line, with Simmons being one of the few still on track before Daniel Falkingham sews up what could be yet another pole. And, that was a moment there for Simmons off the final corner. Going to try to run it up the hill to the checkered flag. But Falkingham's time appears relatively secure, and the point leader, who's going to come into the night, the potential favorite, is going to stage up on the front straightaway on pole. Let's run through the starting lineup as quickly as we can en route to our start. Falkingham, the point leader, and Aaron Smith on row number 1. They'll be set to bring us down for the green flag here once the lights go out. Jared Darling, even with that bobble, 3rd. John Berry outside in 4th position. 5th is where you're going to go back and find Tom Mercier and Tommy Gossett outside in 6th spot. 7th, P7, Aiden Kirker. 8th, Zach Lindgren. And rounding out your top 10 tonight is going to be that of Hayes Booth and Brett Pancari.
Yeah, we'll find our way back to row number 6, and we'll find Cole Fralick in the 15 and Howie Briss in the 97. Row number 7, it'll be Sean Williams in the 89. Zoltan Herczeg, who did not get a great qualifying time, will be there in the 14th position. Row number 8, it'll be James Simmons in the 57, and TCB there in P16. Row number 9, it'll be Sheldon Lockey and Cody Miller. And in row number 10, it'll be Ariati and Nicholas Caressel.
And taking you back to the final starters, Josh Robin in the 8, Patrick Colby in 22nd spot. And that is your field. So we have 11 rows of cars, and we are getting set to wrap up our staging here. And we have someone who we want to bring in to help us get set for this moment. Once the last few cars end up staging on the main straightaway, we know how much this means to the diehard NORC fans. It means a lot to us here on Pit Stop TV to take part in this event as well, especially with something like this, a standing start on the narrow front straightaway at Road America to kick off the 16th race of the season. Still got a couple of cars that have yet to populate, but to get ourselves ready and set, we are going to turn it over to the one and the only TCB to help get this party started at Road America.
All right, everyone. I hope we are all ready here at Road America. We are getting ready to get the lights and finally go green here at Road America and get the biggest yeehaw of Road America's career. Here we go. All right, boys, here we are here at Road America. Eventually, the lights are going to go out and we're going to go green. Can I get it good? Oh, we're going green. Yeah!
Oh, you got to love it. And you got to love the start that Daniel Falkingham has on pole. And here comes Aaron Smith to slot in the second. Looks like everybody was able to survive the opening lap. Will they survive, or I should say the launch off the main straightaway? Will they survive the opening few corners? As most of the field is single file. Got a battle here with Kirker stuck up to the outside. And a couple of cars trying to make some early moves here as they come off the exit of turn 3. And they'll run their way down towards the next best braking zone at turn 5.
Daniel Falkingham with the lead as we hit down into the first real prime passing opportunity of the race. And into the corner, here comes John Barry looking for second on Aaron Smith. You saw Aaron Smith take that wider arc into the corner, and that's going to give him the amazing exit up the hill. He's sizing up to 20 through turn 6. And now Jared Darling up into the podium positions right through and around the 74 of John Barry.
A lot of these guys know that cautions may not be in large supply tonight, so this is going to be the best opportunity to make as many moves as you can. Darling now back up to third after Berry was unable to make the pass on Smith, who almost got into the back of the point leader through turn 5. Now they're going to come through the most tempting corner on the racetrack, the carousel, on board with Aaron Smith here, and you could just feel the temptation to try to get back to full song as early as possible to get a good drive off the corner before they set up for the high-speed kink, where you want to try to be in the gas for as long as you possibly can. They'll run down to Canada Corner where Smith is trying to mount a charge, not close enough here to challenge Falkingham for the lead, at least not just yet, but he'll try to close up under braking as they approach turn 12.
I have to say, we'll watch it here through 12, and Falkingham already, that rear end is not really agreeing with him, but I want to say Aaron Smith, through the kink, that car was as smooth as butter. That was beautiful. In and out of the kink for Aaron Smith. I couldn't even notice that car bobbled. And Falkingham, he was trying to push a little bit. He got the rear end very sideways on the exit of the kink. Now back up the hill, it'll be Falkingham leading lap 1. But I think Aaron Smith is the one who's really calm right now. At least the car is very calm for Aaron Smith.
And one thing that we want to point out, we penciled in, or I would say we sharpied in, Daniel Falkingham as the proverbial favorite for tonight's race. But let it be known that Aaron Smith is one of the best stock car road racers, or any form of car road racer on the platform. If he sees a particular league or series is running on a twisty track, even if it's in a modified or a truck, or in this case the Xfinity car, he finds a way to make time to jump in, and it often is running towards the front, with tonight being no different. As for our Martinsville winners, Zoltan Herczeg, look at him trying to find a way up towards the front of this 4-car gaggle. Looking back here from Cole Freilic's rear bumper, that's Zach Lindgren next in line, and the blue car you see darting out of line on the brakes is Herczeg, and we got one charging in there late. That's Kirker, who nearly ran over the back of Lindgren. Not sure if he had help or if he dove in too hard. Another car is off behind him, and we got a couple of them going around.
Several around in the gravel trap as Sean Williams, Sheldon Lockie, TCB went around, James Simmons, everybody having trouble in turn 5, and that is just speaking volumes to how difficult it is to get these cars slowed down for a downhill high-speed heavy braking zone. Patrick Colby facing the incorrect direction out of turn number 6 in that front end. It ain't pretty.
Yeah, Colby facing the wrong way there in a precarious spot on the racetrack. And we talk about some of the drivers who are the outside of the top 12 playoff bubble having some trouble there. Williams, one of them. Scott Shire, another. That's just a couple of drivers who really need to string together a good run here tonight, and they found some problems in turn 5. This is a big look, a look from high atop the racetrack here on the run up to turn 5. You see Herczeg starting to close in there on Kirker, and I'm not sure if they're going to mistime the braking zone or if Kirker just got it a little bit too hot. And as you can see, Herczeg is well off of Kirker here. He just overcooked the corner, tried to keep off the back of Zach Lindgren. Behind them, though, here comes Simmons. He makes the same mistake, as does Wow, that's a big mistake there by Sheldon Lockey. He punted the backside of TCB, and Sean Williams was just trying to avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. TCB went around there, and it was not of his own doing, as you saw the big chunk of the rear end there dented in there. So we'll go back and we'll get a whole view of this incident. TCB coming down to hill, and Sheldon Lockey, Sean Williams are side by side behind, and oh no, Sean Williams missed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emerson, I'm glad we went back and took another look at that. That was all on Sean Williams there. I misspoke and said that may have been Lockey. That was not. That was on Sean Williams there. And unfortunately, both Williams and Lockey were able to get back going before TCB. So, again, we don't expect to see a yellow flag unless it is a multi-car incident. And Colby ended up losing it on his own off the corner, getting back to the power.
Yeah, especially in these midfield, you're trying to get down. You're trying to get the best acceleration you can. So you may be trying out stuff like maybe first skier through turn 6, and it's not all that bad. But if you get a little too excited on the throttle, that can definitely happen. Either that, or maybe he just the rear end got very light over the crest of the hill.
So we'll go back up to one driver who has not had a problem so far here tonight, and that is your points leader, Daniel Falkingham. And look at the gap they've been able to open up over the rest of the pack. His margin to Aaron Smith, who runs in second, 1.5 seconds behind the leader. Jared Darling, ever since moving up into third, has been able to retain that spot. However, they're 4.5 seconds off the leader, with John Berry, that is, not far behind. Tommy Gossett rounds out your top 5. Mercier and Herczeg 6th and 7th. Freilich, Lindgren, and Kirker, despite the slip under braking in turn 5, you're top 10. One of the things we talked about, Emerson, was pit strategy. We kind of assumed the pit window to be anywhere from about 10 to 12 laps, with this race being 25 laps. Some of these drivers may work this race backwards a little bit here. Granted, tires are going to matter a lot, but that would mean the pit window could open up here as Mercier and Freilich are going at it. We could see that pit window open up here in about 2 laps or so.
Yeah, absolutely. You can work it backwards, or you can make it this race into even thirds. Once you make it through that initial lap, I think the likelihood of a multi-car accident bringing out a full course caution goes way, way down. So you can do that. You can work it backwards and, break this race in five lapping at the start, and then 2 10-lap segments to close it out. Or you could break it into thirds with pitting on lap 8 and 16, or 8 and 17, or 9 and 16. Or we can really see a lot of different strategies happen here. That's 3 right there, and then who knows if anybody's going to attempt to make it the one stop. It's very, very difficult, but if you don't have the pace, I think, to be outright just dominating the way that Falkingham and Smith are right now, and maybe you're a little bit there in the middle of the pack, and you don't have to really push to maintain your position, fuel saving now at a 4-mile course is insane, but if you can do it, it might be an option.
Something we're definitely going to keep our eyes on here while some of these guys are doing everything possible to try to make their way further forward. One car that looks really good is the one that we have our eyes on right now, Cole Freilich. He was pretty ambitious coming into this race here tonight as well. Was looking forward to it, was that of Freilich, and he appears to be very steadily and methodically working his way forward. But as you can see, it has been no easy task. A little bit of counter steer as he got back to the power. And Emerson, I know that we often highlight on the super speedways and the intermediate tracks the differences in these cars that of a cup car as it would have it, with the smaller spoiler, the power that comes with these Xfinity Series cars. It also plays a role on the road courses. I know that oftentimes, though, the Cup Series will run that high horsepower, low downforce configuration, but these Xfinity cars and the way that the engine combination parlays with that of the downforce settings, they do drive differently. And I think one thing that we're seeing, whether it be our leader, whether it be a midfield driver, or even somebody who has struggled a little bit here, these cars are very susceptible to breaking free when you get back to the gas. We've seen Falkingham do it off the corner. We saw Patrick Colby do it and spin out. And we saw it just happen to Freilich. We were on board with him here. And is that a product of this racetrack and this car, the combination of the two? Or is that just as Freilich does it again and Mercier does it again? Is that just what these cars do on the road courses?
Yeah, I mean, you have to think it's 650 horsepower to the rear wheels. And I know compared to the Cup car, that's 100 less horsepower if they're running 725 to 75 or 750 to the rear wheels. These cars, they really do. They rely on a little bit of downforce to keep them planted there in the rear end. And when you think about it, when you get to the ovals, you're never really going from 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour back up to top speed. When you get to these road courses and you think maybe like even the bus stop, it's relatively faster and you don't see it too much, but sometimes you'll see the bus stop at Watkins Glen where you're going 85 back up to speed through the carousel. I mean, it's just I think the difference in speed and the power you have to put down in order to make up that space. You see Freilich sideways again. Freilich loves his dirt track race, and I think this is fitting right into his wheelhouse. But it's just, I think, these slow speeds that these cars are coming up from, and of course you're trying to get the biggest advantage, so you try to get that throttle down as much as you can without looping it.
It's an announcer's dream to have the drivers do something that we're just happening to reference and talk about in that moment. It's much better than the announcer's curse that I've been guilty of many a times on a NORC slate so far this season. But Cole Freilich providing an excellent example of how you have to nearly act as if there is an egg underneath the gas pedal coming off some of these corners, and everybody is kind of in that boat. And it also opens up the window of opportunity for someone like some of these drivers up here in the top 5, say that of a Tommy Gossett, who we're on board with, or the drivers up ahead of him in Berry, Darling, Smith, and even your leader Falkingham, to make a critical mistake. You kind of get yourself into a bit of a rhythm here, but even if you are nestled into that area of focus and you are kind of just logging laps and you've kind of gotten it to where it's secondhand nature as to how you approach some of these corners like the kink that they're coming through now, as the tires start to wear, the fuel load starts to burn off, your ability to get back to the gas may change a little bit as the run goes on, and it can catch you off guard and put you behind the 8 ball like what we saw Patrick Colby do earlier on. So, and just as we say that, there's a bit of a mistake by Darling, and Gossett slides it up off the corner. This fight for third is starting to intensify a little bit here. Why don't we add Zoltan Herczeg into the mix, as he's not that far behind either.
We had a stopped car right there. That's Josh Robin, and another Cody Miller is stopped on the side of the track. We'll get a couple of replays here and see what exactly happened, but 2 cars on opposite ends of the racetrack come to a complete stop. I want to see if we can figure out what happened to the 28 of Cody Miller. It looks like he was stopped there for a minute.
Miller, of course, the winner of the season opener. That car running very slowly there. Not sure if that could be a hardware failure or if something went amiss with Miller's car. One of the few Toyota Supras in the field, and as we mentioned, kicked off the season with that victory at Daytona, but whatever went wrong with that car evidently may be terminal as that car continues to sit there off the racing surface. Now we'll look up here to Josh Robbins, someone who has had flashes of brilliance, especially at the Super Speedway so far this season. Also was running very well at Martinsville last week. We see nobody currently around the USG Sheetrock number 8. He closes up here in turn 5.
Oh,
and Simmons.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there was a couple of cars there. Simmons, I believe that was Ariotti also. So a couple of cars having some problems. And TCB for the second time in turn 5.
Oh, no. I think this is exactly what's happening here, what you just mentioned, and the difficulty of these cars. When the fuel loads get lighter, the rear end gets very light, and then you've gone now 24, 25 miles on these tires at very high rates of speed. You've been going from 180 down to 35 and vice versa. These rear tires are not liking it, and we'll see here Ariotti, he just loops it right around, right in the middle of the racetrack. TCB just he got on the gas a little too soon. He looped it around on exit. Wow, it's the difficulty of these cars. You saw it there on entry, the wheel hop for Ariotti, and there on exit, the throttle application for TCB.
I can understand the mistake that TCB made there trying to get through that incident with Ariotti. And here's Josh Robin. Let's see what ended up happening to him. There was some pretty significant damage on that car when we saw the live shot of it. And that's an error there. And that's going way off the racetrack. Still hasn't made contact with the wall. There it is. Right underneath the Johnsonville-Speedville Bridge there that is synonymous with this racetrack prior to the entry to the carousel. Fortunately, he was able to get it back on the pavement here, but problems continuing to plague some of these drivers here as they are starting to struggle with the handle of their car the more laps they log.
And trying to find it here, but Tommy Gossett also made a mistake and lost some positions here. So right here, he's still in 5th position. So it happens around here for Tommy Gossett. He's trying to find his way around John Berry, who has lost a little bit of that advantage or that margin he had with Jared Darling. We'll see here Gossett really pushing it, trying to get his way. First, stay ahead of Zoltan behind him, who's quickly coming his way through the field, but also try to see if we can catch John Berry there. And we work our way through the carousel. Looks like all is fine, but John Barry has also dropped down to running order as well. Actually, no, I believe they both made pit stops. I believe that might be what we end up seeing here.
As of right now, everything remains status quo, and we're about 7 laps in. We talked about the possibility of perhaps some of these guys working this race backwards, so we would be in that window for a 2-stop strategy here if they could make it about 10 laps or so. So that would make sense if they elected to come down at this point, knowing that they're going to have to stop at least one more time, probably with about 9 or 10 to go per se. Here's Ariati. Let's see what happened to him here with Patrick Colby sliding the front tires up in front of him, and Adi's going to spin off 14, and that is hard contact with the tire wall.
The front end, the hood goes off there. Patrick Colby also had his adventure in the gravel trap. Let's get back to the live action here. I was meaning to get there, but as every time I try to go back, there's another incident around the track, and it's Fallgame who's opened up his 4.7 second advantage over Aaron Smith.
So the top 2 remain unchanged. In fact, top 3 remain unchanged, with Herczeg now moving up into 4th and Zach Lindgren your top 5. Due to the shuffle up and potential pit stops, we have not seen Cody Miller rejoin this race. He is still 3 laps down and in 21st position. However, Tommy Gossett and John Berry, we believe that they have stopped. Cole Freilich has also fallen down the running order. We believe he has stopped as well. But the fights for position continue on the racetrack, including with Howie Briss, who is up to 6th, and he is somebody who's on the outside looking in by 2 spots when it comes to the championship standings. Thus far, he is outperforming Sheldon Lockie, who is 11th, as well as Sean Williams, who is also down the running order. This is exactly what the doctor ordered for Howie Briss, but he is under fire from Aiden Kirker. Up the hill they come, with Kirker now going to have the preferred line, approaching the right-hander at turn 1. This, the fight for 6th.
Side by side down the front straightaway. Now, where do you brake here for turn 1? The braking point is really, really early. Some people brake as early as the pit exit wall right there, but Kirker will make the overtake complete at the center of turn 1. Now, here's where the passing zones come into play here. If Howie Briss's tires are up to par here, he can get the slipstream out of turn 3 here down the straightaway and try to see if he can make a overtake back into turn 5. I think he's a little ways away here. We'll see just how strong that draft is, though.
In that short bend that is dubbed turn 4 with the 5th corner up ahead, and this is where we've seen a lot of drivers make heavy braking mistakes. You also normally see a lot of wheel hop here, and there's a newcomer coming into this mix. How about Brett Pancari, one of the winners this season back at Auto Club Speedway? Admittedly not the best, or road course racing may not be his forte per se, as Sheldon Lockie has come down for service, but Pancari's having a good night, and this is the kind of night that some of these drivers need. He's 7th in points. We mentioned the win that he has, 8 top 10s this season. Just want to keep that positive momentum rolling as we head to Atlanta and Legacy Daytona and be in the mix once we start the playoff run to the championship. Pancari so far, as we're about a third of the way through this race, doing a great job so far here tonight. Patrick Colby, who's been around backwards once tonight, on the pit lane as well for what we expect to be his first stop of 2. The question now becomes, when does Falkingham and Smith elect to come down the pit lane? And Emerson, I know that these drivers have been doing this for quite some time, but you also don't want to make a mistake getting onto the pit lane. You don't want to speed, of course, while coming down for service, especially if you're someone like that of Falkingham, who has done everything right, and he is going to elect to stay out at least one more lap, and Aaron Smith may be shadowing Falkingham, albeit about 6 seconds in arrears of the leader, with Darling also electing to forego the pit entry lane. Herczeg is pushing hard, though. He's starting to close up on Darling up the hill.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach Lindgren gets a little wide there in 14, and Lindgren's coming in. I was going to say here that if you're not one of those top 2, you may have to look at an undercut, a short pit there. And even though it's not going to be permanent by any means, you're going to have to do some heavy defending. You need to put your name in the hat at least to give yourself a chance. And making a short pit this early, like Zach Lindgren is doing here, I don't think it's going to win him the race, but it can maybe get him 1 or 2 spots, and maybe if Darling and Herczeg get to battling on their old tires and really slow each other down, and Lindgren get some clean, fast laps, and right off the bat, right after this pit stop, we could be talking about Zach Lindgren for the podium.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I'm somebody like an Aaron Smith or a Jared Darling, I kind of want to switch things up here and maybe not do the exact same thing that Falkingham has done all night, because I'm not sure you're going to be able to edge him out here unless you get off kilt and off strategy. And tires seem to matter here a good bit. So why not come in a lap earlier? Why not try to force the issue or force his hand a little bit? Maybe see if you could start that rubber band effect and pole vault him, or at least make up some time on him at some point in this race. Zoltan Herzeg, though, fresh off the success at Martinsville, not only did he go out and lead the most laps and lead every lap under green, but as we mentioned in the intro, survived 4 green-white checkered finishes and had a bit of mixed feelings about coming to Road America. He knew that Falkingham would be strong, but he had confidence in his own road racing abilities, and it's showing with his steady climb up the running order, now all over the back bumper. Jared Darling for 3rd.
Again, you just got to give yourself a chance. I mean, you're looking at it. We're here at Road America, and we have 2 races left in the regular season after today. One of those being a plate track. If you give yourself a chance, if you're Zoltan Herzeg, you could just come away out of a wacky and wild Legacy Daytona race as the point leader. You have to, give yourself the chance and be on damage control at these road courses where maybe Falkingham looks like the surefire favorite to drive away and win. You at least got to keep yourself into conversation here with a potential podium as he's working on the rear end here with Jared Darling. Or just keep your name in the mix in case something does happen.
We've seen many a times before here, as it looks like these drivers are going to stay out another lap here. So, again, we do not envision any type of scenario that these drivers could make this on one stop. They would have to stretch it to lap 13 or 14 the latest, and I don't see that being a viable option for the field, considering the fuel settings that were put forth. But we are watching a great fight for 3rd, and here comes Herzeg. Going to look now here and get on the binders, approaching turn 3, and that pass is going to be made at a spot which is not the most conventional of passing zones, but Herzeg is going to get that pass made before the pit stop, and look at him already start to gap Darling. He has perfected the exit of the corner, and now we'll try to close up the gap to Aaron Smith, who is the yellow car on the brakes, just up ahead of these 2 as they come to 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Turn 3, not that passing zone, but even then, I think it speaks volumes to the type of track, and these 9-degree corners, they may seem very boring, especially on a track map, but these drivers, especially if you're Zoltan right there, if you couldn't get it done in turn 1, maybe back up your entry to turn 1, so set yourself up for the amazing exit down to short shoe, where if you maybe have a little bit of a mistake there into turn 3, it's risky. And you only have grass to catch you, but there's no wall there, and you're not going to be in a race-ending scenario if you even shoot a little wide through turn 3. Now, we'll see here if he can hold on to this, and we already know how Zoltan is about saving tires on the Mount of Halves and the other intermediate ovals, but how about a road course? He's brought that tire-saving ability, and we'd expect it anyway, but he's brought it here to Road America, and I was talking to you earlier in the pre-race. Now, these drivers are going to experience tire fall off about 8, 9, 10 laps into the run. Look at what lap we're on. We're on lap 10, and Zoltan is just flying his way forward.
Remember, he did that at Martinsville as well, even with all the late race restarts. He was one of the few who stayed out with about 80 laps to go and was still able to hold off the field. I mean, he is someone who has certainly caught all of our attention with his ability to save tires and remain in the mix. And we've got some movement now as far as front runners coming to the pit lane. Aaron Smith will run that car up the hill, and he will be one of the first of our top 3 to come down the pit lane here, while Herzeg forgoes the pit entry and Jared Darling follows. So Smith is trying to do something off tilt here to see if it will help him as far as chasing down Falkingham. And here is Tommy Gossett, one of the cars that has stopped already. He's up to 9th, and we expect to see that car continuing to climb its way up the running order here as a handful of cars still have yet to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I cut the Tommy Gossett there because he is the highest driver in the running order who has pitted. So we're trying to see here, where does Aaron Smith come out in relation to Tommy Gossett? Gossett climbing up the hill, and he's going to be flying by at a full head of steam. He might get this 70 car down into turn 1. Down and away is Aaron Smith. Where does he come out in relation to Tommy Gossett? Here comes Gossett right by. It's going to be raced into turn 1.
Remember, Aaron Smith was running 2nd, so what does the value of the undercut give you? Look at where Tommy Gossett is running. He was 5th at the time that he stopped for service, and that's the driver who was running second up in front of him. And Gossett still he's got heat in his tires already. Smith's going to have to build up some heat to get those tires up to temperature here as he's a few corners out of the pit lane. But that is the benefit of the undercut. That's what Aaron Smith is hoping he could do to Daniel Falkingham, who stayed on the racetrack at least one lap longer. We'll see if he elects to come down for service next time through as he rockets his way through the kink. And Falkingham will have his next opportunity to come down the pit lane in about, let's call it, 4 more corners.
Well, here's the next thing, it really comes down to the pace you're setting. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer of it, but, I mean, we'll look at Tommy Gossett's last lap on significantly fresher tires than Daniel Falkingham, and Tommy Gossett maybe was affected by some traffic on his lap, but you're in a 2:17.4, while Daniel Falkingham last lap ran a 2:16.6. So Falkingham's still kind of outperforming those, at least Gossett and the rest of the company. Here comes Daniel Falkingham anyway into the pit lane, but he still ran very fast, and that's part of it, managing your equipment and being able to set that fast in lap so that maybe isn't even a topic of conversation when you're on pit exit.
Yeah, it's a great point to bring up there, Emerson, as the leader is now in the pit lane for service, just about 1 lap shy of halfway, we'll call it, as he trickles his way across the start-finish line to kick off what is officially lap 12. Ariati was on the pit lane. You see Cody Miller, who remains out of contention, also down there. That car has not returned to competition since stopping on the racetrack. And Zoltan Herczeg. So your top 2 in the championship points, plus that of Jared Darling, plus that of Brett Pancari. So this appears to be the cutoff point. Boy, Pancari was hot getting into the pit lane there. Got to hope that he did not trip any of the speeding or catch the eye of the officials there of being a little bit too hot.
Oh,
Tommy Gossett is off in turn 14. So all that ground he made up on Aaron Smith is now thrown out the window after Mercier was up ahead of him and coming down. And already Falkingham is off the pit lane. He is back out in front of the field. He did not lose the lead by virtue of the pit stops. And Zoltan Herczeg will also come out, but he may not be able to hold off Tommy Gossett. This is the race to turn 1.
Well, look at that. I don't know if maybe Jared was repairing some damage, but even with the off-track Tommy Gossett had, imagine if he didn't go off-track, by the way, he'd be right up ahead of Zoltan Herczeg and Jared Darling. But what he's done is he split those two up in their hot and heavy battle for the 3rd position. Zoltan now has a little bit of a buffer to Jared Darling.
Yeah, for Tommy Gossett, it's going to be what could have been. If it wasn't for that mistake coming through turn 14 before he climbed the hill on the main straightaway, he may be in the 3rd position right now. But he obviously has the oldest tires of the group he is around and racing. So in theory, Zoltan Herczeg should pull away, and Jared Darling should offer up a challenge to Gossett, who may have to pit in a few laps from now. Here's a fight for position further back. Zach Lindgren getting overtaken by John Berry, who is already on the rear bumper cover of Hayes Booth, who's had a nice climb up through the field. This is 6th, 7th, and 8th respectively, and Berry's got a run. Going to try the outside approach here.
Oh, wow, this is tight between Booth, Berry, and Lindgren side by side into turn 8. Don't outbrake yourself, Hayes. No, near contact off track. Goes the 11. I was just about to say, Hayes is on very old tires. He is very, very, I guess, vulnerable to a mistake on 12-lap old tires. And Hayes Booth will find himself off the track. But here's the thing. He hasn't pitted yet. I think Hayes Booth, if he comes around here, he'll be obviously getting to halfway here. He could play the one-stop strategy. This might be in play for Hayes Booth. If he doesn't go off again, no!
Boy, that is not the spot of the racetrack where you want to have an off-track excursion. That was all 4 tires off of the grass at the high-speed kink there. My question is, if he is trying to play the one-stop strategy, you see where he's running and where he's at in the running order. That's 8th spot right now. So he must have saved so much fuel to try to make this work. I'm not sure that he would have the pace perhaps to overtake some of the front runners if he has to do this again in an effort to try to stay on the racetrack here, as he did not cycle his way up towards the front of the running order. But Booth comes back onto the main straightaway, and he is going to pit this time. Wow, I will tell you, no matter how this plays out, hats off to Booth for trying it. Remember, he is one of the competitors who is outside of that top 12 grouping. He's 17th in the standings. This is his one and only shot, perhaps, to try to get himself up towards that top 12 in these final 3 races, and he is trying to seize the opportunity by going off strategy.
Well, another driver who has done it is Cole Fralick, has started the 13th lap and has not stopped for service yet. Nobody else in this field at least is attempting to go this long on their fuel tank except for Hayes Booth that lap prior, and now Cole Fralick. This is some phenomenal work Cole Fralick is putting in. Now, I don't know if it's because he was off the pace, but his last lap was a 2:21.1. Like, that is nearly 9 seconds off of the pole time. And Fralick, he's out here, though. I don't know if he can make this work. I don't know where he's going to end up, and I don't know if it's going to be worth it. But a valiant effort if Cole Fralick's able to pull off and make it around to pit lane, I'd assume, this time.
And we can expect to see Fralick in this time, but boy, that has been an ability to stretch things in a significant way. Fralick and Booth both. The question is, will the delta time that it takes Daniel Falkingham with a 7-second lead over Aaron Smith, the time that it would take for him to come down the pit lane for service and get back out, haven't quite figured out what that delta time is, but would that be enough, and would these drivers be close enough to try to challenge for the victory, or maybe they're just eyeing an opportunity at a top 5 finish or a podium here? We'll see, especially if they have to save as aggressively as they have been just to get to this point, with Fralick still a half lap away from the potential opportunity to come down for a stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if anybody other than maybe Aaron Smith has their sights set on Daniel Falkingham. This is he absolutely classing the field right now. But I do believe, especially if you're in that playoff bubble, you need to try something different. If you don't have the pace to lock yourself a top 5 or a top 10, try something different. If it's just not working out your way, or if you had an off track or something that's put you back in the field, might as well try it, right? We'll see Cole Fralick off of turn 14 here. Does he turn that wheel right and go up the hill? He does not. I don't know then if maybe timing the scoring just hasn't shown him make a pit stop yet. Actually, it says he's on 7 lap old tires, so I guess he already made his pit stop, but still, this is something for Cole Fralick into the top 10 and trying to size his way forward to Howie Briss, who's on fresher tires than him.
Perhaps the only one who will try to stretch it to the end would be that of Hayes Booth, and that's still a pretty tall task for the driver who finds himself about 1 minute and 20 seconds behind the leader in Falkingham right now. You're watching round 16 of the 2021 NORC iRacing season 13, as we got a battle starting to brew here for 4th place. Tommy Gossett, hang on there, buddy. Just as we were about to hit the reset on this race, he almost gave us a highlight moment there, and he got that 0-0 sideways. It's going to cost him some ground to Jared Darling, who's having a great night. Daniel Falkingham has led since the drop of the green. He set pole just as he did at Road Atlanta, the one and only road course race that took place prior to tonight, and he continues to parade the field. These races here on Pit Stop TV are presented by a number of premier partners, and this is an opportunity for us to thank them. Our broadcast tonight is brought to you by our friends at Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music. Use the promo code PitStopTV at checkout to save 10% off your wall-mounted sound art device today. We're also brought to you by Race Pace. You can pick up the pace with Race Pace, a community-driven setup driver shop and driver development program. We're also brought to you by Permanent Makeup in Maine, because you deserve the best care that money can buy. We're also brought to you by Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV. And of course, lastly, we are brought to you by our friends at BAM Racing Videos, by a race fan for the racing community. As Falkingham hits the line here with about 11 laps to go, we're also starting to hit that threshold of what may be the final stops of the race. We expect Falkingham to stay out for at least, we'll call it, 5 to 7 more laps potentially. But Aaron Smith has fallen back almost 10 seconds behind the leader. Herczeg, your podium. And I think Tommy Gossett may be the first who is going to be forced to hit the pit lane for his final stop. And right on cue, here he comes. And this will be Gossett's final attempt on the pit lane here for service to the checkered flag.
Well, if you imagine the short pit that he did to get right behind Jared Darling on his pit in lap, Tommy Gossett might have a shot. I don't know about Daniel Falkingham, but he might have a shot at something on the podium there. Jared right now running in 4th, and he's only... Actually, it looks like he lost a little bit of time to Zoltan there. But still, Tommy Gossett may have something to say about a podium.
that strategy of that undercut appeared to pay off in a big way in that first stint for Gossett. The question is here, how far back will he fall in the running order, while Herczeg continues to hold down the third spot for the time being, 7 seconds behind that of Aaron Smith. Now, Jared Darling is having an amazing night. Totally gave him the announcer jinx as Gossett has finished up his service, and he is heading back to the racetrack. But Darling was having an amazing run at Martinsville last week. We brought him into the broadcast booth on one of the many late race cautions. And right away and right on cue, he got taken out in the turn number 1 off the restart. And I have not felt better about it since. I'll tell you, I felt terrible to give him that much of a jinx there. But since, he's been chopping at the bit to get back behind the wheel of this number 1 car. And he's putting in a great showing here on a night on a track in which could be feast or famine for some drivers in terms of road racing. But for Jared Darling, who is 8th in the championship standing, still looking to find victory lane for the first time. He, too, is putting himself in a great position come the reset and the run for the playoffs here in about 2.5 races from now, with Atlanta and Legacy Daytona all that remains after we close out the final 10 laps here from Road America.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jared, not only did you have your moment last week when you interviewed him at Martinsville, but I don't think I did any favors for him at Talladega when I had mentioned at the top of the broadcast, and he had mentioned it to me anyway, that he was going to win in one of the 2 Dega duels, and he was in prime position to do it in that first Dega duel, but just could not get it done, and then the second Dega duel was such a blur. I don't really recall where he was in regards to that, but here comes Jared Darling up the hill into the pit lane, and he's had 2 pretty rough weeks, and it might have been both of that at our mercy, so hoping that tonight will be a little bit more in his favor, and especially at this point now, he's in a more of a control his own destiny kind of state right now. That he was practicing all this week. He'd been putting sessions up and putting them in the group for drivers to come in and practice. And I joined up today just to see what the conversation was like today, and he was not confident at all heading into this week about Road America. If we recall talking to him about how he felt about Road America, but that has since changed with the practice he's put in this week, and I'm not gonna finish that thought, but he is down and away. It looks like maybe just a splash and go for Jared.
I believe these drivers had one extra set of tires in the pit, so I'm not sure if everybody elected to take them the first time through. But interesting item of note here, though, about Jared Darling is that he stopped way later on the first wave and then elected to come down relatively early here. I'm wondering if that was in response to Gossett's early stop. So Darling has already made his efforts here for service. He is back out on the racetrack. We'll see where Gossett blends up. I believe Darling may have taken less fuel there as well compared to that of Gossett, who is still a good ways behind Darling. In fact, not even on the same straightaway as they come up to turn 5.
Yeah, Jared was only in the pit box for 6 seconds, so that's definitely not a tire stop. Tire stop is at least 7 for one side, and that fuel definitely is... you think a splash is 3 seconds, so he definitely took more than a splash as well. I think maybe he just filled up the tank to make sure he can make it to VN. You see some dust cleaner. Maybe he just came in and topped off, because if you top off here, you can most likely make it to the end on fuel. We have about 11 laps to go, coming around to 10 laps to go this time by. Or actually, we are on 9 laps to go. I can do the math. 9 laps to go. As Falkenham crosses the line, and there's TCB leaving the pit lane.
Now, the unfortunate element here for Hayes Booth, who we believe was going to be the one and only driver to try to make it on one stop, is Baker, who's gone for a couple of slides tonight, as evident by the damage to the back bumper, now goes a lap down. In terms of talking about Hayes Booth and his ability, the problem is there are drivers who have stopped for the final time, like Jared Darling, like Tommy Gossett, who are still ahead of Booth in the running orders. So although Hayes is having a good run here tonight in 13th, and he may be able to stay there or get 1 or 2 more spots if a couple of drivers not that far ahead of him have to stop. But we'll see if there is, in fact, an opportunity for Booth to pick up some more ground here. But I do not think this is going to be a podium or potential race-winning venture, judging by the amount of fuel that we're seeing some of these drivers put in. I also want to shout out Trey Shuttlesworth, who brought up an interesting point here, and that is the strategy involving that of Jared Darling. And it may have something to do with only that one additional set of tires, as Hayes Booth almost threw it away in the kink there again. One set of tires is all that was available, as Zach Lindgren and Moore are on the pit lane now. So with that in mind, it may have been an attempt to try to get a similar life out of each set of tires, as Ariati has a big off.
Oh no, we're going to get a replay here, and and see what happens. For Hayes Booth, that might just be his line to the kink at this point. I think he's given up trying to stay on the pavement there. I think he just said it's faster to run wide if we can keep the wheels straight. I guess why not? But here's what happened to Ariati.
And this is down the straightaway. Boy, turn 5 has not been kind to Ariati. We've seen him have problems here before, all by himself, minus the hood. And there's that little bit of wheel hop that we're talking about here. And that big slide, hop, skip, and a jump sends him all the way off there towards the tire barrier. Fortunately kept it out of the wall, but had to back his way up towards a position where he could turn around and get it righted. Adi had a great run going at Martinsville last week, charged up into the top 10, and then not quite sure what happened to put him out of the race, but he definitely caught our attention in the broadcast booth. And tonight, unfortunately, we thought was going to be a continuation of some of that pace and some of that speed, but a couple of mistakes in turn 5 has caught him off guard and has put him behind the 8 ball tonight with less than 9, now 8 laps to go.
Yeah, Falkham just really running away with this at this point. Now, Zach Lindgren, he has made his final pit stop. He is 1 second behind Tommy Gossett. Now, this is the battle here, and it comes down to, who has the freshest tires at what point. Tommy Gossett has already been through his service, and Zach Lindgren right behind. This could also just be who has the better outright pace. Aiden Kirker has retired from the session along with James Simmons so far, and Ariati has gone around again.
Well, but it's not your night. It's not your night. And for Ariati, things just continue to unravel, and he's going to spin it out again. Boy, I'll tell you, ooh, look out. That's Jared Darlin, one of the front runners trying to come back by here. That would have been a close call, but, man, I will tell you, I have not had much time on the sim in quite a couple of years, as a matter of fact, but I was not a good road course racer. My night would have been pretty much the highlight reel that we have designed for Ariati so far here this evening as he goes wide coming off Canada corner. This pretty much would have been me the entire duration of the 25-lap contest. Hats off to Ariati for fighting his way through it. We talked about drivers who are trying to get up towards the top 12. Ariati 19th in the championship standings. This night is not going to help his efforts with only 2 races to go, but it's been a struggle for him, and it continues.
Yeah, it's a difficult track, and then you add into the fact that these drivers only had 1 set of tires, and, I mean, you were able to do the official races that iRacing puts on, 15 laps on a set of tires, but it was a tough, grueling 15 laps, especially towards the end. Like I said, if you're pushing the whole time, and if you're up there in that top 5 and you're trying to hold on to that spot, you're really experiencing tire fall off 7, 8 laps into the run. You really have to adjust your braking points about 9, 10 laps into the run. By lap 12, your tires are dead, and you're just hanging on for dear life. And Ariati, add in the incidents and the locking up and the spins for the 23 car. His tires are absolutely shot. He may not have another set. He's just trying to limp it home.
It's going to be a fight all the way to the very end for Adi. Now, this is an opportunity that I thought maybe Falkingham would take to try to come down the pit lane and top off the fuel cell to get it to the end, because he's trapped now behind Sean Williams and Sheldon Lockie, who are just battling for position up in front of him. These are 2 cars that have been involved in some trouble today as Lockie runs a little bit wide. Williams going to look down low here, or perhaps give Falkingham an avenue to get by or trap him up to the top side of the racetrack. This is a tough road to hoe for the leader. First time he's faced any form of adversity today, and that's trying to weave his way through this traffic here with less than 7 laps to go.
Yeah, lap traffic, it's always interesting here because there is a lot of passing zones here, but you always seem to catch lap traffic at an inconvenient time, like right after a passing zone. It gets really, really difficult. He was very lucky in to catch lap traffic through turns 1, 3, and 5, which are 3 90-degree corners that make it easier to make an overtake like so. But if he caught him like through this section, he would have to make maybe a monster send here in turn 8. And there is Hayes Booth right up the road. Oh no, Hayes Booth going a lap down on his strategy. I believe on his strategy he won't end up a lap down, but that front end, it's not pretty.
I believe the highest running driver who has stopped already as Booth must have had a significant off at one point in this race. We saw him flirting with disaster on a number of occasions, but we believe that the highest running driver that has stopped already would be that of this man, and Aaron Smith, who is now running in third with Herczeg up a little bit. So the question now becomes, when does Falkingham elect to pit? And how much time will it cost him? And I would assume that, being that he is pitting so late, you don't have to take a full load of fuel. He could dial it back a little bit. They're not going to put on a set of tires, so he may spend the least amount of time on the pit lane, or at least close to it, for this late splash and go.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Darling take only 6 seconds of fuel, and that was probably him coming in when he had to top off to make it to the end. At this point, Fogging maybe looking at maybe a 4 or 5 second actual time stopped in the pit box. We won't find out this lap either, as he'll come up the hill and take 6 laps to go, which, I mean, 6 laps to go. Normally, that's not that many laps left, but at Road America, that's still 24 miles.
Yeah, 24 miles. We're talking about over 12 minutes at least if the race stays under green flag conditions. And the conversation by race officials was that cautions would only be thrown if there was, in fact, a large multi-car accident, as Hayes Booth goes off-roading behind these drivers yet again. Going to lose a couple of spots here to Lockie and Williams and rejoin the fight. But these drivers pretty much knew coming into this one that the yellow flag was less than likely to come to their aid throughout the duration of this event. And setting up their strategy was going to matter in a big way. We drop back now to a fight that is starting to materialize for about the 8th position as Howie Briss holds it down that spot. Cole Freilich is starting to chase as everybody is starting to skate their way through the carousel with the tires hanging on to the end.
It is a tough corner on fresh tires, or when you have the tires up to temp. You still debate, do you take it in second gear, do you take it in third gear? If you're in second gear, there's a lot of revs that are going through the rear tires, and it can easily get very, very difficult to hold on to your car. If you're in third gear, then you're in low RPMs, and it really comes down to how you have the car set up. If you have the car set up just a little bit wrong on the entry to the carousel, it's oh so tough. Now factor in, you're still having to debate on what gear you should be into the carousel. Now factor in the 10, 15, at this point, potentially lappable tires. And you're really talking a very difficult situation scenario for these drivers. And you saw right there, Howie Brish just kind of opened it up from the carousel to the kink in Canada and turn 14. Let's see if Freya can close it back down through these through this opening sector of corners.
You have to love the fact that even though we're down to about 6 laps to go in this race, going to be coming up on 5 to go, Falkingham has stunk up the show. No surprise, though. A lot of us anticipated that with how good he is on road courses, and his level of confidence in his post-race interview at Martinsville kind of hinted at this being the potential case. 20 seconds the advantage over Zoltan Herczeg, who still has to stop. We're not sure where Aaron Smith is going to cycle through, but nevertheless, there's still some pretty good battles going on throughout the pack as we see Hayes Booth going off yet again. But we saw that fight between Howie Briss and Cole Freilich. TCB with yet another loop. And that may be yet another one that happened at turn 5. Indeed it was. And we talked about Ariati struggling tonight. However, TCB, turn 5 has been his bugaboo in a big way.
It has not been pretty for TCB down in the very heavy downhill braking zone. Right there getting a little too hot and then trying to slow the car down. Maybe you downshifted the first gear a little sooner, trying to slow the car down with the engine braking, and the wheel hop will loop TCB around, wait for the break in traffic. He'll put it back in first and get it back going, but very unfortunate, but all too common here at Road America.
So John Berry able to squeak by after he's trying to put together a solid night. We talked about the likes of Brett Pancari, Jared Darling, all in a bit of a grouping who have not found victory lane this season, but have been running very stout as TCB is off again. Emerson Arden, I think that you hit a home run with your analysis of the fact that some of these drivers who pitted early, they're pretty much done with their tires, and I think TCB is trying to put this thing in the grave. He's going to wreck off the corner. Ariati squeaks by. I don't know if he's going to have enough rubber left to make it home for the checkered flag.
At this point, I don't know if he intends to. This is something else. That was wild. The drift, he tried to pull through the kink. I think he was trying to anyway. We'll see here in the Canada. He's battling Patrick Colby, though, so I don't think he'll do anything too showy. But, yeah, that 25 struggling. The rear end is already throwing the car off balance, and then throw in light fuel, old tires. My goodness.
So it's going to be a struggle home to the checkered flag for TCB, who continues to wrestle with that car all the way throughout this 4+ mile course here at Road America, and he's not done. He's going to skate that baby off the final turn. We'll see if he comes to the pit lane or if he'll remain on the racetrack. And for some of our spectators in the session, you may want to keep your eyes on that 25 because he's going to put a show on here for the final 5 laps as he limps back to the line here, unofficially scored back in what would be about the 16th spot with Josh Robbins trying to close up on him.
Yeah, I think we also saw this at Kansas once he was kind of no longer really in a competitive state of the night. He just kind of had fun with it, going a little wide there, and I don't know if he should be doing this with traffic around him, but we saw him. He was just letting it hang out at Kansas when he was just kind of a couple laps down. At this point, TCB, he's just putting on a show. He's drifting every corner at this point, I'd say on purpose, and it looks like he's just having fun.
Repancari, the last car on the lead lap, running at 11th, able to squeak by. That means that Daniel Falkingham is going to be closing up on the backside of TCB here in the not-too-distant future. Sheldon Lockey still going at it here with Sean Williams. These drivers are both a lap down, but this is a race for position. It would be for 12th, as Williams is able to get up there and around Lockey. These two pretty much been tied together throughout the duration of this race. In the Turn 1 incident back in Turn 5 that also collected TCB, these two were involved, and now Jared Darling has an off here from 4th place. Where is Tommy Gossett?
And Tommy Gossett had his fair share of offs as well, but that could have been very detrimental to Jared Darling's, I guess, top 5 run right now. We'll see if he holds on to that top 5 and if he has any relation to Zoltan Herczeg when this is all said and done, but I believe he had about a 12-second deficit to Zoltan even before he pitted. So we'll see what happens here. But again, we're still waiting on Falkingham and Zoltan to pit if they need to at this point. I don't know what the game plan is here.
A lot of these guys really struggling for rear grip. It seems as though everybody is burnt off the back tires here at this point of the race, and they may be hanging on for dear life just to make it home for the checkers. With Herczeg not only 20 seconds behind that, as we got Baker around yet again. That was in front of your leaders. Falkingham is going to arrive on the scene here momentarily. But Herczeg is 21 seconds back on the leader and 30 seconds ahead of Aaron Smith. So the question is going to be, will that delta swing, if he does in fact have to stop, be greater than or less than that 30-second margin for him to try to hold on to the second step on the podium? Falkingham with an opportunity perhaps to come down the pit lane here. We'll see if he takes that opportunity, as he will set up for 3 laps to go. And the run up the hill,
Yep.
Here he comes. This is going to be the final stop of the night for your points leader and race leader. And Falkingham really attacking the pit entry point here for what should be a splash and go.
I find that crazy. He has this 21-second advantage, and we don't know where it's all going to second out with Aaron Smith and Zoltan Herczeg, but the fact that he still attacked the pit entry and gave himself the opportunity to get himself a 40-second hold with this kind of an advantage is wild to me, but it shows just how much confidence he has in his own ability to make it into that pit entry.
So Falkingham is going to stop in that number 1 pit stall by virtue of the pole that he won earlier. Herczeg also coming down at this point for service. There's going to be no opportunity to go off strategy or try to do anything, especially with the fact that most of these drivers already put on their final set of tires for this race. Aaron Smith comes off the final corner. Your leader, Daniel Falkingham, already in turn 1. Smith, though, may have a chance to get back to second. Herczeg apparently took a good bit of fuel here. This is going to be the run now down to turn number 1 for the runner-up spot. Smith with a full head of steam. He's going to get by Herczeg for second in the first corner.
He will, but Jared Darling is off in a gravel trap and big damage for the 1. We'll get a replay and see what happened. Actually, I don't know if there's too much damage, but that is a lot of lost time for Jared Darling.
Darling was running 4th. He just dropped to 7th. Was the driver the 1 who was in the top 5 pretty much all night long, and that appears to be the same spot on the racetrack that bit him 1 lap earlier. This is Darling now coming up to the run towards what looks to be that of Canada Corner. This is through Kettle Bottoms right now. And there's the braking points you see on the left side, just a little bit too hot there getting in, and she did not want to turn. Bang into the wall.
It's so difficult. Like we've mentioned time and time again, the old tires. Oh no, he's trying to get it in gear. He's trying to jam it in gear. It stalled on him. He's trying to get it in gear. Finally got it in the first gear, but not before Gossett, Lindgren, and Barry would all drive on by to put him in 7th. But that would just add fuel to the already raging fire there in the 1 camp to miss the corner. Not be too bad. But once it popped out of gear and he had to try so hard to get it in gear, now the tires are shot and overheated, and he's just struggling to get back onto the racetrack. This is a great day gone a little sour here for Jared.
And unfortunately for Darling, the agenda is going to have to be to just stop the bleeding. Try to keep this thing on the pavement here for the final 2.5 laps. He's going to have to negotiate this 4-mile layout and just try to salvage what could be a top 10 finish and keep it on the lead lap. We mentioned the potential strategy swing from the likes of Hayes Booth. He remains 1 lap down. Since pitting, we did see drivers like Sean Williams as well as Sheldon Lockie get back on the lead lap, but we're also starting to see this battle for second materialize here in what's going to be a 2-lap run to the checkers. Falkingham has come to the line, 2 to go on him. 20 seconds behind him is Aaron Smith trying to fend off Martinsville winner and reigning champion Zoltan Herczeg for the runner-up spot as they come up the hill.
2 laps to go. This is where Zoltan is going to shine as Zoltan crosses the line there. The gap will update. 0.3 of a second in closing. Look at him attack the braking zone into turn 1. I was in practice with Aaron Smith earlier, and Aaron Smith was absolutely phenomenal at that turn 1 braking zone, and Zoltan closed up on him.
You saw Aaron Smith there dip the right side tires off into the curbing, clipped the grass, kicked up a little bit of dirt there, and Herczeg was unwavered. He gets a little bit sideways getting back to the power. They're going to try to set up a potential move here as they approach turn 5. That's Hayes Booth off in the distance. He's a lap down, no factor. This is all going on 20 seconds ahead of Tommy Gossett, who is 4th, and Zach Lindgren, who is 5th. Big bobble there by Smith under braking. Here comes Herczeg down low, and Herczeg's going to take the spot away on corner exit. Zoltan Herczeg the second with 1.5 laps to go.
Does Aaron Smith have any chance to cut back here? He's gonna have to really follow Zoltan. He's gotta stay with him through all of his dirty air and all of these low speed corners as he works his way through 7, now down his way to turn number 8, and where there's a gravel trap meeting. If you go a little too deep through here, through turn 8, looks like everybody will make it through in one piece. But it looks like Zoltan's going to be driving away and potentially stealing that second place finish that we all thought Aaron Smith would hold on to. Gone, about 1.5 laps to go.
So Herczeg is going to try to put himself in a position here to wrap up second place on the night. Meanwhile, Daniel Falkingham, your leader, out in front and navigating himself to what could be his 5th win of the season, while Darlin tries to fend off Howie Briss in what will be a last lap charge and run for the battle for 7th. Meanwhile, Falkingham comes through this set of corners here. He has a lap car up ahead of him, and he just has to keep this car on the pavement for 1 more lap. He will come to the line here and see the white flag presented by Tucson Sound Art. 1 lap to go for Daniel Falkingham on what is yet again another dominating performance on the road course. He's got to keep it straight for 4 more miles.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a phenomenal job from Daniel Falkingham today in this 100-plus mile affair around the Wisconsin countryside here in Elkhart Lake, and he's really taking these boys to school. I knew this was honestly going to happen when we had the iRacing official races a couple weeks ago at the beginning of July, and I got into races with him in the Cup car and here in the Xfinity cars. He would just he had like 3 seconds on the field by the time like we got to qualifying, and then got by the race he had everybody but like the top 4 lapped. I knew this was probably what was going to happen coming into today, and it was something.
He knew coming into this race, by virtue of a strong run at Martinsville, we had a chance to talk to him there. He wasn't happy with the handle of his car. Thought that maybe the aero wash took away an opportunity for him to grab another win on the season on the short track 1 week ago. But he knew that Road America was going to be an opportunity to perhaps right a ship that wasn't necessarily out of whack. He talked about how he was frustrated with how his Dega duels went. Keep in mind, his last victory came just 5 races ago on the National Fairgrounds short track, where he was able to capture top honors there after winning the pole. It seems as though on the nights in which Falkingham is one of the fastest cars in qualifying, he's able to parlay that into success, and he is a few corners away from being able to cement that notion here at Road America as well. Perhaps unfortunately for Falkingham, this is the last road course race on the slate as of now, but he is trying to go 2 for 2 on the season before we head to Atlanta 1 week from tonight, and he's got just a few corners left to go.
He'll work his way out of Canada Corner and through this cresting at turn 13 before he sees the final crest of this long 4-mile lap. We went green just over an hour ago, and it has been all of this 20 cars since. Cars off track, that's TCB trying to get in shot here, but up the hill, here comes Daniel.
Up the hill he comes, a driver who has proven to be able to win anywhere. He is going to sweep the road course races in 2021. Daniel Falkingham dominates at Road America for his 5th win of the season. Falkingham with a margin of victory in excess of 23 seconds as we watch this fight materialize here between Jared Darling and company. Mercier getting around Howie Briss here. This is the fight for 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yeah, this is the only other battle on the racetrack. Kirk, Zeg, Smith, if they just make it around the racetrack, they'll solidify their spots as well. But here we go. Darling trying to hold on to what he's got. Tom Mercier comes out of nowhere. Does Mercier have anything? A lunge maybe down in the Canada corner. Through the kink. A rough kink for Jared. Here we go. Down the straightaway. Long straightaway. Slipstreaming. Does Tom send it?
Going to be setting up here for the braking zone at Canada corner. Howie Brish trying to get the spot back. Mercier hard on the binders. This is where Darling has gone off a couple of times tonight. He keeps it on the pavement, burps the back tires a little bit. Mercier is going to have a look, and Brish may have slipped too far back. Got a few corners left to go. This is the best race we have on track, with Mercier trying to cap off an incredible night for him in the last corner.
And through turn 14, Howie Briss makes it back to the inside. The battle for 9th, no longer the battle for 8th. It's going to be a drag race up the hill and to the line. Who got the gas first to the line?
Wow, that's going to be Mercier by inches with the post-race punt to Jared Darling. And now Briss and Mercier are going to wad it up here in turn 1. And that is your top 10, tearing it all up here with a party in turn 1. Hey, even Cody Miller came out to kind of have a little bit of fun here after his race came undone early. But the driver who had the most fun tonight, still sidestepping his race-winning car around this 4-mile layout, was Daniel Falkingham. As we said, his 5th win of the season, and he looks in the rearview mirror. Well, actually wasn't even in the rearview mirror. He'll look at the final standings and see that Zoltan Herczeg had to settle for a runner-up finish. That means that Falkingham will continue his stranglehold of the championship standings en route to our penultimate race of the regular season, Atlanta, 1 week from tonight. We got some drivers to talk to. We're going to step aside here for just a moment while the top 2 in the race congratulate one another on a top finish. Aaron Smith en route from 3rd. We'll hear from our winner for the 5th time this season, Daniel Falkingham, and more when we come back to Pit Stops TV's coverage of the NORC iRacing Series from Road America. Don't go anywhere.
You found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Welcome back to the virtual Road America. We just wrapped up the 16th race of the 2021 NORC iRacing Series, as they have 2 races left now before they re-rack the field for their playoff run. But the results tonight match what we've seen pretty much all season long, whether it be on road courses, short tracks, intermediates. There's one driver who has separated himself from the rest of the field, and he did it yet again for the second time on the road course. We've penciled him in as the proverbial favorite coming into tonight's race, and he did not disappoint. En route to his 5th win of the season, we'd like to welcome in, fresh from the winner's circle, Daniel Falkingham, the points leader, all-win leader this season so far, and sweeper of the road races in 2021. Daniel, we heard from you last week after your front-running finish at Martinsville that you were looking forward to this race, and you showed us exactly why. Could tonight have gone any better?
Not really, I don't think. I mean, if that's not domination, I don't know what is. But, I'm so happy with how well we performed tonight. I definitely felt like we were going to be the fastest coming in. I love Road America. I love road racing. I say it all the time. Definitely felt like we were going to be the fastest coming in. I knew Zoltan was going to be pretty fast. I knew Aaron was going to be quick up there. Yeah, it was just so surreal right now. I know Zoltan came from the back, so that was impressive. But even when we were on equal stuff, we were still pulling away from him and whatnot. So definitely felt like we showed him what's up tonight, and we're just getting into chase mode. That's all it is right now. But yeah, I'm so happy. Really couldn't have gone any better. Pole, I did a whole Grand Slam, I'm pretty sure. So it can't get any better.
Now, understanding the racetrack is one thing, but planning out the race strategy on a 4-mile track with 60% fuel fill, 1 extra set of tires in the pits, when did you zone in on what your race strategy was going to be? Did you have an agenda going into this event, knowing we probably weren't going to see any cautions, or did you kind of play it as you went, as your pace kind of dictated how much fuel you were burning? When did you put it all together on how you were going to play out pitting tonight?
Yeah, I had a pretty good idea of how my strategy was going to be when I realized we were only going to have 1 set of tires. And I'm really glad we didn't have that stupid yellow flag tonight, because honestly, I think the yellow flag is pointless and whatnot. So pretty much it all came out of strategy when you wanted to take your tires, because we only had 1 set of tires and stuff. Pretty much, it was just pretty much simple to take tires early on, and since we were only going to be running like 3 or 4 laps at the end with the way the fuel played out and whatnot, there was just no sense to take tires. So I mean, figure just take them early, and then run them as fast as you can, and then stay fuel at the end, and then that's it. Pretty much what we did at Road Atlantic, except backwards, like where we took fuel beginning because we had the halfway break. I mean, strategy is all over the place, it seems like, on these road courses this year, but I'm just glad we could actually let the race play out instead of having like a stupid yellow and whatnot. So I'm really glad we could let it play out.
We did have a different element to this race, the standing start at the beginning of it. That was something that everybody had to kind of adapt to relatively quickly. What did you think of your launch down in turn 1? Looked like you cleared the field and never looked back from pretty much that point forward. Did you enjoy that element of this race here, or would you have preferred the more conventional rolling start for something like this?
Not gonna lie, I like the standing start because with the way we were gridded, I was already full car length ahead of Aaron. So once I just had to get through the launch sequence, and then I was cleared to turn 1, and I could pretty much control how everyone got into turn 1 stuff. So not gonna lie, I was a fan of that standing start. I know we did it like a year or so back in Monza when we raced Cup cars there, and I pretty much knew what to do on the standing start. Pretty much I only had one little issue of wheel spin, which I could have prevented a bit better. But other than that, it was pretty much control. Once we could get through the standing start sequence and whatnot, it was just eyes forward from there, and we were just able to control it just from that point.
We can add whole shot to your list of accomplishments tonight on what was a dominating performance for you. 2 races left to go before the reset. Atlanta next week. You are highly confident at Martinsville coming to this race. You've proven to be really fast. Your wins include short tracks, road courses, and the intermediates as well. We got Atlanta next week. What's your level of confidence going there? Well, I'll say 1 week from tonight.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good race. Atlanta was one of those tracks that got the multi-groove grip strips added on the service. We're going to be running the bottom. We're going to be ripping the fence. It's pretty much going to be similar to what we saw at Kansas earlier in the year, except I think it might be more top dominant. It depends on what weather we have next week. I feel like if it's really, really hot, then we can get every lane working. But if it's really cold, then I think it's going to be 1-lane racetrack around the top, just because the top is so even with the bottom. You're just going to be ripping the top the whole race. So really hoping we can get some decent weather, nice hot weather next week, so hopefully we can give us more options. But if it's a cold race, I'm afraid it's only going to be 1-lane racing. So but other than that, Atlanta, I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm just looking forward to these next 2 races, and then we'll get ourselves in a chase mode. But yeah, definitely going to be enjoying these next 2 weeks. But Atlanta should be a good one.
I haven't really seen a racetrack that is a weakness for you on this NORC slate. Before we let you go, buddy, want to give you one opportunity to shout out all those who make this possible for you, bud.
Yeah, I've just got to thank First Rate Bay, Lobster 207, my personal sponsors, for all their support. Got to thank John Barry for running the league. Got to thank you guys for running the broadcast. I don't say it enough, but you guys kill it every single week with these broadcasts. I hope you guys keep up the good work as we go into the chase and whatnot. So definitely going to go back and watch this race, sure. So thank you guys for all you do. Got to thank everyone who comes out and races each and every week and makes these races a blast, a good time. Got to go, let's see, got to thank all the fans who come out and watch us each and every week. I know they enjoy the show we put on. They enjoy all the radioactives, which I think is going to be a pretty good radioactive coming out whenever it does in the next few days. So look forward to that. And yeah, that's it. Just thank you everyone.
Kansas, Michigan, Road Atlanta, Nashville Fairgrounds, and now Road America, the tracks in which Daniel Falkingham has adorned the top of the win column, and he'll be looking for more next week in Atlanta and more. You'll keep the points lead. You'll keep the momentum. We're looking forward to seeing what you got up your sleeve come Atlanta next week. Great job tonight, man. You spanked them. Go enjoy it.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Thanks, guys.
And again, that is Daniel Falkingham by virtue of his 5th W of the season. And there are no signs of him slowing down. But the driver who's been creeping up towards him in the championship standings wasn't able to make up ground there, but keeps momentum rolling, is standing by with Emerson Arden. That's our reigning champion, Zoltan Herczeg, our runner-up.
And we bring in driver of the number 96 who chased down Aaron Smith and frankly drove through the field today, Zoltan. What a job you did today. You started 14th and you finished 2nd. Describe the run through the field from the grid start to the checkered.
Yeah, it was definitely tough. The standing start was pretty awesome. I kept the traction down and got a couple spots just on that, which was pretty cool. I was hoping that it would almost be like Road Atlanta, where we'd have a caution halfway, because I'm usually pretty bad in the first stint of like road course races, and then I kind of get into a rhythm and able to kind of keep it on the track. But yeah, it was tough. I wanted to qualify, so I was rolling around the track trying to keep the tires on it, and then I overshot one of the corners and ruined that lap. And I was really hoping to be able to kind of stay up towards the front and kind of see what Falkingham was doing, because I knew I was a little bit off. He definitely had the pace, and I was just hoping to kind of learn a little bit to be up by him, but never really got that chance. But it's really cool to be able to drive all the way up to 2nd. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We know, of course, that you're a driver to always look forward to, especially when we get long green flag runs at the ovals. But today here at Road America, when it's all about keeping the rear tires cool and keeping them a little happy, how was the challenge of wrestling a 650 horsepower, 3,400 pound stock car around Road America and keeping the rear tires on it?
Yeah, you definitely have to pretend there's an eggshell between your foot and the gas pedals. Just be nice and smooth, and those curbs really screw you up. If you touch those curbs, it's just you just got to say goodbye to your rear tires. And so if you keep it off the curbs, you can keep some good pace to it. And wasn't able to really do that too much. I was just trying to gain too much and wasn't really realistic to be able to gain it.
Well, speaking of gains, you came into today 11 points behind point leader Daniel Falkenham, and to be quite honest, once he got through turn 1 on the initial start, he was gone. So you did everything you could do to be on damage control today. How do you feel about your chances, maybe the point lead after the next 2 races, or just your chance? Well, yeah, how do you feel about your point scenario heading into Atlanta and Daytona?
I definitely feel good being second right now. Just to be able to make the chase and still have that shot at the championship, because in the end, that's really all that matters in this season. And hopefully be able to have a nice solid 2 races, just kind of gain some momentum before the chase, and I don't know, maybe try to steal the championship away from Daniel. He's had the lead since the beginning, so it's definitely gonna be tough. He's been on point every race.
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, a driver to always look forward to when it comes to long green flag runs and tire saving. Next week, we're at Atlanta. Again, the older version of Atlanta, where the tires are everything on that very aged surface. How do you feel about your chances?
I'm hoping that it's nice and slick. Atlanta's a lot of fun when it's nice and hot and slick. You really got to drive the car, and I was able to run one of the official races, whatever it was, maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't even remember. And the high side really came in, which was fun, but it almost became like old Kansas, where you kind of were stuck to the high side, and you really got to root the guy out of your way just to get by him. So it's going to be tough to be able to make passes. So qualifying is going to be key for that race, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, Zoltan, again, the drive from 14th to 2nd at a very tricky road course like Road America doesn't keep you from losing points today to Daniel Faulkner, who just absolutely drove away and stole the show. But very, very good damage control and keeping yourself in that conversation for the point lead and having yourself a great run as we head to 2 races before the playoffs. Zoltan, congratulations on the 2nd place finish. Who do you got to shout out? Who do you got to thank for it?
I gotta thank you guys for doing these broadcasts. You guys do an amazing job, and gotta thank everybody watching. Thanks John Barry for putting on the league, and just thanks to everybody racing. That was some fun, clean racing and respectable racing, which was awesome and cool to be in.
Fair enough. Once again, congratulations on your 2nd place finish tonight, Zoltan, and best luck to you next week at Atlanta.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
That is our 2nd place finisher, driver of the number 96, Zoltan Hertzeg again. From 14th to 2nd, a phenomenal job, even topping one of the faster drivers today, Aaron Smith, and that 3rd place finisher staying by with Eric Brennan.
What a great season it's been for a driver who's trying to put himself in a position as a potential underdog. 10th in the championship points, picking up what would be his 3rd top 5 of the season. Aaron Smith the 2nd. And Aaron, we all know that road racing is something that you love and you're good at it. Doesn't matter what type of car. I've seen you on the Roval Series that just kicked off a few nights ago. We've seen you run well in a modified on a road course. And here tonight in this Xfinity car, you picked up where all the expectations were left off after how strong you've been every time we see you on a twisty. Tonight, though, 3rd place run. Are you happy, or are you hoping that we would have came out of here with a little bit more success?
Yeah, I was certainly hoping I'd finish on the a little bit higher up on the podium there, maybe in 2nd. But fortunately, I just didn't have the staying power to really keep up with them in the long run. So glad I could finish 3rd, but there's a little bit left to be desired there.
Seemed to be running 2nd all night long. You were able to overtake Hertzeg when he stopped for the final time with just a handful of laps to go. But it didn't take him long to be able to catch you and then eventually work his way by you there on the exit of turn number 3. Was it the tires maybe that have fallen off there a little bit too late? What was the difference there with that pass that kind of kicked you back to 3rd late in the going?
Well, I lost a good bit of time at the beginning of that last run with a couple lap cars getting stuck behind them, and the exit of the kink there lost me about a 2nd every time it happened. But yeah, I didn't have the tires. I didn't really have the line to make it happen. I was in the wrong gear in the carousel the whole time. I didn't realize that till after the race. But yeah, that was also an issue. But yeah, just glad I could bring it home clean.
And a clean race all the way around. You kept it on the pavement. You kept the pace to keep you on the podium. But coming into the night, though, we mentioned 10th in the standings. We'll see how the numbers fall as we get closer to that playoff run. Only 2 races left to go here. But coming into the night, though, you're only 16 markers from being in the show versus out of it. This third-place run does a lot for you in maintaining a championship contention. Is that something that was on your mind tonight, or were you solely focused on making sure that you had a strong showing on a track that is in pretty much in your wheelhouse whenever you're on the sim?
Yeah, it's certainly nice to get a little bit more wiggle room with the ovals coming up. I think it's Daytona that's the final cutoff race, so that's definitely going to be a wild card. So I'd like to get as big of a pad for that as I can.
So we got Atlanta up next. Daytona, as you mentioned, a true wild card, Legacy Daytona, no less. What are your thoughts? I know that we want to celebrate the podium run here tonight, but being that you are within the ballpark of that cutoff line, is your level of confidence pretty high heading into these final 2 races before we hit the reset button, or you still got to sweat some things out here in these final 2 races?
Well, the main objective here in the next 2 races is just to survive. I think if I do that, I should be able to make it in there without any troubles.
Well, I know the season kicked off really strong for you at Daytona. You ran great there. You've obviously proven yourself on all disciplines of tracks, and I hope that the momentum stays with you and you're able to retain yourself a championship battling position, because I expect this car to be up towards the front once we get down to those tracks that make up that championship run. Aaron, I know you got a full plate of racing, but I feel like every time I'm looking at iRacing results, you're in there and up there. Who do you have to thank for your success here tonight? And what does your schedule look like? I mean, are you as busy as it looks with all your involvement and all your leagues and whatnot?
I don't know. I try to get a league in every night just to get my name out there and have some fun. But yeah, I'd like to thank the folks at the Satellite Racing team for their support, and y'all for broadcasting, everyone at NORC for putting the show on, and everyone for watching. Looking forward to whatever race I'm on next.
Well, we knew you were going to be strong here tonight, and you went out there and proved it for sure. Third place run tonight, as you mentioned, your 3rd top 5 of the season. Still looking to find victory lane for the first time on the NORC side, but I know that you've had so much success in all your leagues and all your involvement so far, and we expect that to come over to the NORC side here with 2 races to go before we hit that reset button. Aaron Smith, great run tonight, buddy. Looking forward to talking to you more times before the season comes to a close.
All right, thank you.
And again, that is Aaron Smith, who rounds out our podium tonight at Road America. And boy, dominance for Daniel Falkingham, a strong run for Zoltan Herczeg, and Aaron Smith doing everything he needed to do in order to keep himself in playoff contention with 2 races to go after tonight. Emerson, what a night, man. I mean, everyone had some pretty interesting runs. There was a lot of stories to be told, but nobody had the night that Falkingham had. You actually pulled up a very interesting stat. We talk about his dominance on the road courses. I'll tell you what, nobody did what he did this season.
Yeah, nobody led a lap on a road course besides Daniel Falkingham this season. That's mind-blowing to me. Even with the caution at Road Atlanta and the pit strategy, nobody was close enough to stay out and take a lap from Daniel Falkingham. He led 65 laps on the road courses this season, all 40 at Road Atlanta, all 25 here tonight. And, I mean, he's led many more this season in general. But on 100% on laps led at the road courses, I mean, what more can be said about that? Now, of course, if this is the last road course on the season, the skill set for as far as championship contention no longer needed. You reset and you get to the more traditional tracks, but there's a dirt track coming up. We saw how sideways these cars are getting. Maybe Falkingham might have something to say about Bristol Dirt. We'll have to see then. But again, a phenomenal race tonight. Great battles all around. For a Road America race, I think this just kind of checked all the boxes for me. It had everything from great strategy calls, several different strategy calls, amazing battles up and down the running order. Unfortunately, also the off tracks and the wheel hops. That's just kind of part of it when you have big, heavy stock cars going from 180 to 40. It was a crazy, fun show tonight.
I agree 100%, and we had a chance to hear from our top 3 finishers. Let's see how the rest of the field fared after 25 laps and 2 pit stops for just about all competitors. Falkingham, Herczeg, Smith, your podium. Tommy Gossett was the best of the rest, able to work his way up into 4th, and John Berry, your top 5. Cole Freilich already expressed in our Pit Stop TV group chat that he's ecstatic about how his night unfolded. We saw the pace that he had very early in the night, able to come home in 6th. Jared Darling, after having a couple of off-track incidents late in the going, fell to 7th, while Tom Mercier edged out Howie Briss at the line in that run up the hill for 8th, with Briss settling for 9th and Brett Pancari. We talked about just trying to get through this race that he knows is not one of his strong suits, en route to trying to go into the playoffs with some momentum. He ends up in the top 10 here tonight, this Pancari.
Yeah, what a run to the line between 8th and 9th. A great run for Pancari as well. But to the second page here, the last of the lead lap cars, Sean Williams and Sheldon Lockie. Man, they were they were connected like at the hip tonight. Those two were battling all night long. It'll be Williams over Lockie when the dust is all settled. Zach Lindgren was up in the top 5. He'll end up in the 13th position. It'll be interesting to see what exactly happened to him. Hayes Booth comes home in the 14th position. Patrick Colby in 15th, Ariade 16th, TCB 17th, and the trend here is a lot of these drivers had trouble today. Josh Robin as well, 18th. Aiden Kirker 19th, Cody Miller in the 20th position. I'm still not exactly sure why he came to a complete stop just out of turn 13. I'll try to investigate that a little bit more as well. And then the back end of the field with James Simmons and Nicholas Caressel did not turn a lap today. So technically only 21 starters today, and James Simmons, the unfortunate last place finisher today. With that Juicy Fruit scheme, I was so excited to see it run more laps today. Unfortunately, that was just not the case.
Unfortunate night for Simmons. Unfortunate that Caressel could not make it to the start. Fortunate for us that we have so many incredible partners who allow us to put on not only these broadcasts, but other broadcasts that we have slated for the week ahead. And let's take this opportunity to thank them at least one more time. We'll start it off with our buddy, or our friends, I should say, at Tucson Sound Art. Now, provide him any image that you want. For Daniel Falkingham, it could be of his 5 wins in the season. If he wants to put a collage together, send it in to our friends at Tucson Sound Art. Visit the website TucsonSoundArt.com. They'll take that image, frame it out with a beautiful and high-quality built-in Bluetooth speaker. That way it is now equipped with Sound Art, so you get the best of both worlds. To learn more about their products and services, again, the URL is down below, TucsonSoundArt.com. And make sure that when you check out, use the promo code PITSTOPTV, all one word, to save 10% off your purchase, TucsonSoundArt.com. We also want to thank our friends at Race Pace. There's a Discord link down below to see how you could join their community, because if you ever wish that you could have a race engineer on speed dial, this is your chance. Thanks to Race Pace, which, as we mentioned, a driver development service and setup shop all rolled into one. Our friend Tyler, who is a real-world race engineer, will help you step up your game before your next race, especially when it comes to road racing. Be sure to pick up the pace with Race Pace and Race Pace setups. We're also brought to you by our friends at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, because when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. They have locations now in their growing ventures in Auburn, Lewiston, Naples, and Saco, Maine. Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine with owner Ashley Bullier, a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. Contact them or visit their website, permanentmakeupinmaine.com. Check them out on social media, see before and after photos, read some testimonials and reviews, or give them a call at 207-358-8683, permanentmakeupinmaine.com. We're also brought to you by our friends at Whiplash Media. You visit the website, pitstoptv.com/whiplash, because they specialize in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs that you saw here tonight, and so much more. As a matter of fact, they're the official graphic and camera provider at Pitstop TV, so you can be sure to grab your iBroadcast cameras today at pitstoptv.com. And lastly, we're of course brought to you by our newest partner here in BAM Racing Videos, Brandon Mettler, joining our Andrew Cardinale IV to the Charlotte Motor Speedway these last few weeks on Tuesday nights, covering the Summer Shootout. He also covers a number of other racing ventures all throughout the country, and is sure to share the content across on his social media channels. That's BAM Racing Videos, by a race fan for the racing community. And as we mentioned, we have a full slate of races on the Pit Stop TV network over the next few weeks, over the next week, I should say, including a doubleheader tomorrow night. We got IORL on the Chicago street courses. We welcome them back to the platform. And then Emerson Art and the Outlaw Sim Series has been off to a hot start, and they're going to be down in Homestead, Miami for their race tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. Excuse me. It's great to have the IORL IndyCars back on the channel, and with their addition to their schedule at the Chicago Street Course, that should be a blast. Haven't really I haven't seen a race at Chicago Street Course yet, other than, of course, the Pro Invitational. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens there. But for the Outlaw Sim Series, it has been something. We have the Wild Daytona race, craziness. I mean, absolute craziness at Rockingham. We had so many different drivers that got up there at the front, and then all of a sudden, last season's champion from almost out of nowhere comes and steals the show. I can only imagine it'll be very similar with these open setup trucks at the Homestead Miami Speedway. A great mile-and-a-half venue. Should be a blast there. But Eric, Thursday, I think we're both excited for this North American Racing League.
That's going to be the debut race for this GT3 class. It's going to be kicking things off at Hockenheim Ring. It's going to be the first race on the platform here. We'll be covering them on Thursdays throughout the distant future, the not too distant future, I should say. And it's been a while since we had some GT cars on the platform, so happy to have that style of sports car racing back. And that's going to be Thursday night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern, only on Pit Stop TV. Now, as far as how all of you could catch the action, we have a number of ways. Trey Shuttlesworth did so much work for us here tonight on social media. I just actually pulled up my Instagram feed, and he already had the shots of Daniel Falkingham coming to his 5th win of the season. Here's the way that you could stay in touch with Pit Stop TV on social media: Facebook.com/PitStopTV/ Instagram.com/Pit_Stop_TV/ Twitter.com/PitStopTV_/ and YouTube.com/C/PitStopTV1. We'll throw a little slash there at the end as well to make sure that you can watch us on there. As I mentioned, that is my go-to opportunity for everything that is happening on the platform. And we continue to add to our slate. We mentioned this at the beginning of the broadcast. We talk about how Andrew Cardinale IV is typically tied up on Tuesdays at Summer Shootout. Well, he also travels with the Cars Tour and all the work that is happening on Cars Tour TV to follow that late model series. Well, the Cars Esports Tour is back. Entries open to all Cars Tour competitors, and they may open it up to other short track stars and iRacers. Cars Esports Tour races are going to be held on Wednesday night, practice kicking off at 6 p.m. Eastern. Go to pitstoptv.com/Cars Esports Tour for more information. And Emerson, I know we're really excited about that one. And I'm excited about these upcoming races for NORC: Atlanta, Legacy Daytona, and then it's all about the championship. Can't wait till we get to Atlanta after all the fun we had here tonight at Road America.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Atlanta, it's going to be, I guess, a little bittersweet to see the old configuration ran, because we're starting to see it for potentially the final times in some of these leagues and series, even though the Atlanta Motor Speedway in its current state will live on in iRacing, probably as a legacy track. But for it to be actually ran still as its current version of its 24-year-old asphalt, it's going to be something I'm so excited to see. These, very, very difficult to drive NASCAR Series cars tango with the, again, very abrasive, very tricky track surface at Atlanta. It's going to be a great show. We're going to see another display of sideways cars, I say, next Tuesday night.
And we know that the NORC cast of characters are going to put on an incredible show. We cannot wait to get there. Again, we'll be in action with a doubleheader tomorrow here on the platform: IRL Outlaw Sim Series, NARL GT3 Thursday. And then, of course, back here next Tuesday night for more NORC racing from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Do not miss it. We had an incredible team here tonight. Emerson Arden, as always, crushed it, not only with the commentary, but with the production work as well. Trey Shuttlesworth, go check out all the work that he put in tonight promoting this race and this series. And until next time, I can't wait to be back behind the mic for more NORC racing coverage. I'm Eric Brennan. I want to wish you all farewell, and we will see you next time on Pit Stop TV. Good night, everybody.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.